den of nerds.
Indeed.
Sitting in a comfy chair. I like this. Well, if you haven't noticed, we're obviously not at my house.
Obviously.
We're at our friend Manny's apartment.
Yep. He's in the other room sleeping because he was up all night working.
So we're going to talk as loudly as possible. I hope he wakes up. He comes yells and then yells at us.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Make things more interesting.
Yeah. So, what is the topic for today's?
Today we're going to talk about the personal storyline in Guild Wars 2, just because it kind of relates to what we were talking about last week.
Indeed.
Indeed. Events. Kind of just wanted to lay out what the personal storyline was made up of, how it's unique from any other leveling experience in MMOs, and just all the cool different things you can do to make it unique and fun.
Absolutely. And also about how it's better or different than questing in normal games and that kind of thing? Right?
Yeah, I said that.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
No, I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set up my stopwatch so we don't go too late. Okay, so so what is the personal storyline then? Enlighten us.
The best I can explain the personal storyline is to think of a game like Mass Effect or Dragon Age.
Oh yes, definitely.
Or Knights of the Republic. Obviously all BioWare games, if you notice.
Right.
But that's what it reminds me the most of, is these single-player games that BioWare has made, where you create a character. Most of the time you create a background or kind of a history.
Right. Like in Mass Effect, you had, where your character grew up on, whether he was it was a space game, for those of you who don't know, whether he's like a colonist, or whether he lived on space stations his whole life, or if he was from Earth, that kind of thing.
And you got to kind of choose a psychological profile, which is like events that happened, and it kind of it changed how people reacted to him in the world.
But in Guild Wars 2, it's a lot more in-depth than that. You get to pick things such as your social status, kind of like what we said about for Mass Effect, but the example is like for the humans, you get to pick whether you were a street rat, as the term goes, whether you were just a homeless, poor
nobody,
and a homeless nobody, or whether you were noble, or if you were just kind of the middle class.
And obviously that's going to change a lot how people respond to you.
Absolutely. Because if you're a nobleman, then you would command respect when you go into some place. Whereas if you were just a nobody who picked up a staff, then
probably not going to listen to you.
Probably not so much.
You have stuff to prove.
Yeah.
So I would explain that's the kind of the core idea.
Yeah.
And as if you're familiar with those games, as the story progresses, you have to make a lot of choices. Those things change the world, sort of. I mean, in games like those, like BioWare games, you always end up in the same place. Most times there's not multiple endings.
Right.
Sometimes there's good and bad.
Right.
And some of them, they're not too detailed.
Right.
But it does change how things kind of play out. And like in Mass Effect, there were choices you could make where you could lose party members if you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Or there's choices where at a point you had to lose a party member.
Yeah.
You had to choose which one.
Yeah.
So it was the choices aren't just cosmetic.
Right.
They do matter.
Right.
And when I look at a game like Guild Wars 2, they're taking that idea and applying it to a leveling system, where your leveling experience will be one of these quests.
Yes.
Where you make choices, and those choices carry weight. And I think that will that'll be great. I just love the idea of playing a game like Mass Effect all the way through. Once I get to the end, of good job, you completed your personal quest. Now let's actually start the game.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing Guild Wars 2's personal story.
I like that.
You spend so much time invested, and not only that, you get to bring in your friends, so they can kind of play with you too, and the personal storyline becomes.
But one of the things that I actually really like and want to point out real fast, one of the things that I really like about Guild Wars 2 being an MMO and not an RPG, if you make a wrong choice, you're stuck with that. Your choices matter.
Right.
In Mass Effect 2, I'm playing through Mass Effect 2 right now, and there's one part where you have to, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, the Asura, not Asura, I'm thinking Guild Wars 2, the Asari, I always get them confused because I'm huge into Guild Wars 2 and then they're too close together. The Asari lady, Jed, whatever she is, going and doing her quest or mission or whatever, to go track down the target that she's going at. I won't spoil it for those of you who haven't played it.
Samara.
Yeah, Samara. Yeah, that's her name.
That's a good one.
Samara. Yeah. If you go in, my first attempt on the mission, I failed it. but I had the ability to load my previous
Right.
save and try it again. You don't have that kind of a choice in Guild Wars 2. Your choices and the things you do have an impact, and it's a lasting impact.
And I think that it's important to distinguish between failure and difference.
Yes.
Because a lot of
exactly.
times, these things that happen in Guild Wars 2 or whatever, or even in Mass Effect, if something doesn't work out the way necessarily you want it to, well, guess what? That's life.
Yeah.
And BioWare is really good about designing the game where it doesn't punish you for that.
Right.
It just makes your experience different.
Right.
And I hope that ArenaNet will do the same thing,
Yeah.
where players won't feel robbed or cheated just
Right.
because they couldn't complete something.
Right, right.
It'll just be different. And that's because then even making mistakes is fine because
Yeah.
it's unique still. You made this happen. Even the bad choices you made or the mistakes you made
Exactly.
still affected it,
Mhm.
not necessarily in a negative way.
Yeah, I really like that. So, what will you experience as a character? Will you, if you're a human and you play through your personal storyline, if you made another human, would you experience the same storyline? No.
No.
Because, if you pick all of the same exact things in
Right.
your first one, yes. But you have so many branching, stories that you can have. You can pick a different social status for your new human. You can, when it gets to the point of, because they've made an example of, ArenaNet has made an example of, at one point in your personal storyline, you will get, reconnected with your best friend, and there's a point where you can save him or let him die. And, if you saved him in your first character's playthrough, you can let him die in the second one, or vice versa. And there's a lot of things like that which can really branch off and change the story.
The only thing I'm worried about is that those significant choices won't be as big as we might think. Like,
Yes.
it might just change a little bit, but really doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't know if you
I
guys...
hope so. I hope that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever played a game called The Witcher, but The Witcher,
Oh,
The
yeah.
Witcher 2 just came out. And the choices you make in that game are probably some of the most heavy choices that you have to make in any game. Because even at the beginning, the first choice you're faced with, depending on which one you choose, it changes the entire nature of the game.
Wow.
So even that one choice at the beginning, you go on a completely different path and do completely different things than if you had chosen the other one.
Wow.
So the choices you make in that game are heavy.
Yeah.
They really matter. They change everything. Like you chose one, all right, all this content over here that you would have seen, gone. You don't see
Yeah.
that. You go this way.
Yeah.
Like real branching paths.
Yeah.
Not just little cosmetic differences.
I think it's really cool for a developer to do, because a lot of people are scared to do that they're going to put all of this money into a game and have half of their audience not experience.
Well, I see it
a huge
as
portion of the
it's
game.
just adding to the game's replayability.
Absolutely. No, I see that.
Because
as
if
well.
I'm playing The Witcher 2 and I sit down and I make this decision, I'm like, wow, all right, I finished the game. I'm like, now I want to go back and see how the game would have played out if I had made that decision.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not going to be little
Yeah.
differences. I know it's going to be big differences.
Yeah.
And I hope,
Yeah.
I hope the changes in Guild Wars 2,
Absolutely.
I hope they're big differences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, not only will it change from character to character within a race, but obviously, you pick an Asura, you're going to have a completely different storyline than if you played a Norn. Completely different, because you play through your character's area, if you will. And the Asura's capital city of Ratisum is like way down on the coast, and like the Norn is like way up in the Shiver Peaks.
Completely different landscapes.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Completely
experiences.
different, yeah.
And you get to kind of see the
Yeah.
entire world from different ways of point of view.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of a big point in Guild Wars 2.
Absolutely.
They're trying to bring all these different races together.
Yeah.
And you get to see firsthand how they're so different. And you're like, man, how can we ever
Yeah.
get on common ground? Because
Yeah.
they're all so different. But
And one of the
that's
things
great.
that we got a question from a guy, and it was really the only guy who asked the question, and I apologize for not remembering your screen name, but he asked, when will the characters, will they start in different areas? The answer to that is yes. And when will they converge? And we really don't know a specific level or specific time. They have said in the personal storylines that all of the characters' personal storylines will converge towards the end of the story with, fighting Zaitan, the one-elf dragon. That all of the races and characters will combine at that point.
What's not clear to
But
me
we
is-
don't know if you can go into
Right.
a different place and experience their personal storyline as,
What's not clear to me
I don't know.
is how big a gap there's going to be from hitting the level cap to having all those storylines converge.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it seems to me that there's going to be a big gap of preparing for that.
Yes.
Because I don't
would
see you hitting level 80 and then just saying, hey guys, let's go kill Zaitan, and that's over. No, I see a pretty significant gap of freedom where you're pretty much free to do whatever you want, get gear, do PvP, prepare for this. And I have a feeling there'll be patches and they'll like bring out additional content. Probably you'll probably have to fight the Dragon's Champions first.
Yeah.
You'll probably, there's probably,
because for those of you who don't know, each of the Elder Dragons has a champion, a dragon champion. Like, was it Kralkatorrk's champion?
Kralkatorrk's champion is the Shadow, which is the one you've seen in the trailer.
Yeah. The Shadow, that huge dragon that is like all purpley and huge and stuff that you fight in dynamic events. That is a minor dragon. That is the champion of Kralkatorrk, and Kralkatorrk is one of the I think he actually might be the biggest of the Elder Dragons.
So what you see here is like you get an idea of the scale of this game, and Guild Wars 2 is just dealing with one of these Elder Dragons.
Yes.
So they have the potential or the ability to make 4 more expansions.
Yeah.
Each one dealing with an Elder Dragon, and each one opening up a new area of the world that the dragon is occupying.
Like, for example, Zaitan's minions are blocking off communications and trade routes to Cantha. So if you take out
is pretty much blocked. You can't get out of Tyria as long as Zaitan.
Yeah, and then also Kralkatorrk is blocking off trade routes to Alona. So I mean, I would assume that after you beat Zaitan at the end of Guild Wars 2, the next expansion would be, hey, we just opened up trade routes to Cantha. Let's go see what happened there. That's what I would assume.
So I mean,
but
as far as it goes for the personal storyline, we know they're all going to converge when you fight Zaitan.
Yes, and we know that they will all be different until then.
What we don't know is how big that gap will be between you hitting the level cap, which you will do fairly quickly.
Yes.
And actually getting to the end.
Yes.
I hope it's a good, significant amount of time.
Yeah, I hope so too.
So,
now that we've kind of really laid out what your personal storyline is, let's talk about it briefly, because we're already at over 10 minutes, 11 minutes, and then some.
That's not bad.
I know, but I'm just, I don't want to ramble on too long, so let's talk about.
This is a good topic. Like this,
it is a really good topic.
I think it's important. And if you guys like this, I want you to share this with your friends, or if a friend asks you, what can I expect from Guild Wars 2? How is it different from MMOs?
Yeah.
If someone asked me that question, I would tell them about the personal storyline.
Absolutely.
Because the ability to have that single player motivated quest in an MMO, the Old Republic's going to try to do it. Don't know how it's going to work out. I think they'll do a good job since it's BioWare.
Yeah.
But Guild Wars 2 just seems to be, the scale seems to be quite significant.
Yeah, so let's go into how the personal storyline is different from normal questing. It should be kind of apparent, but we'll lay out some points. And also how it's better and how it might be worse in some areas, and let's just kind of go through that. So what would you say is one big way in which that they are different? The personal storyline and your typical questing is different.
Well, the biggest difference is there's no hub. The hub-based questing, and I say that when I'm talking about a game like WoW, where you create a character, you have your starting area, which you'll have in Guild Wars 2, but whatever race you pick, and obviously in WoW there's no social status, there's nothing like that.
Right.
You're basically just kind of a little action figure in the world.
Right.
Your existence doesn't carry any weight.
Right.
So you have your starting area, and you do a bunch of quests. The guys with the exclamation points, if you talk to them, they're like, hey, I need herbs. Oh, you run around, gather herbs, whatever. And it's unique to the race you start, There's lore behind it.
Yeah.
But really, all leveling boils down to is, doesn't matter what race you are, whatever, you'll end up going to the zones, right into the town, picking up all the quests, running out into the world, doing these tasks, menial tasks, like really tedious, running back, turn it in, get more, doing it again until you're done with all the quests in that zone, move on to the next zone.
Yeah.
And that's the same for every race, every class. You'll end up going to the same zones and doing the same quests if you want to level.
No, I remember getting it down to a science.
Yeah.
Because I leveled a bunch of tunes in WoW, and I would get it down to a science. Like I would sometimes even like completely disregard the entire starting area, run into the capital city and run to a different one, just because there was more efficient questing there.
And there was no challenge to it after that, because all the quests.
And especially once they had the heirloom items, all the challenge for leveling went right out the
Pretty much, it was just a grind.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the term grind.
Yeah.
To where these tasks, they're not fun, they're not exciting.
Grinding is a term, for those of you who don't know, in its basic form is grinding is just going out and killing monsters to level up. That is what grinding is. And Like that is how you level, and that is the sole purpose to killing monsters is to level up.
And 1 to 80 or 1 to 85 now is just a grind.
Well, pretty much.
And nothing you really do there matters.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all just a
Exactly.
slugfest to get to the end game where you can do the important stuff.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest deal.
Yeah,
and it's
with the personal storyline in Guild Wars 2, there won't be any grinding.
No.
Because you go and do specific events for your specific story, and you go through the specific, adventure, the entire huge arcing quest. And
there won't be any running to the town. A guy asked you to make
Go
5
kill some
horse
horse.
hooves or whatever, horseshoes or whatever. Just like it's not like gonna be like that. It's gonna be you walk into the town.
You will have that option because apparently you can go up to like farms and stuff, and if there's a farmer, you can go feed his cows if
I'm
you
sure
want.
there'll be stuff like that for bonus experience.
Yeah, but I mean, by no means is that necessary or the most efficient
I
way
see
to
the
level.
personal storyline working like kind of like a mission-based thing where you show up in a town and
Yes.
there's this big problem you need to fix.
Yes.
And it takes a while, but you get it done
Yeah.
and you get a bunch of XP from that. And
Definitely.
you move on. You say bye to the people and you continue on your quest.
Yeah.
And that's just so much more heroic.
And another
much more
huge
epic.
thing is it's a lot more personal.
Mhm.
You have a personal effect on the world.
Right.
In like something like WoW or any of these other games, or even Guild Wars 1. You didn't really have a personal effect. I mean, you would go into a mission, you would complete
Say
the
that
mission.
it's like you're an action figure.
Yeah, but there would be no lasting effects that you caused.
In games
And-
like Mass Effect, people like Commander Shepard or in BioWare where you have these characters, BioWare games, these characters are real. You feel like they're real people.
Yeah.
And they act a certain way and they respond to situations a certain way, and you get to decide how they react.
And that sense of personal impact that you get in an RPG is looking like that's going to happen in Guild Wars 2.
And I think that's going to
And
make
that's going to make it.
That's going to make leveling new tunes not a bad
Not a
thing,
chore.
not a chore, but something you want to do.
Yeah.
Because you're like, man, I want to see how the Char deal with their crap. And so you go through and it's kind of it's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't wait.
Yeah, and another big difference is, with we kind of talked about this already, but kind of with questing, you go into a zone and every character experiences it in the same way, and it's with your personal storyline, it's just.
Everything's going to be different.
It's going to be really cool.
And and like I said, I hope the choices that you make really make significant differences.
Yeah.
And they're not little changes; they're massive changes.
Yeah.
Like I want to see a choice you make, like deciding whether maybe you make a choice and later on, like you find a town is completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Or a city, like that's a massive change.
Yeah.
It's not as massive as changing the
Yeah,
entire
like
map.
maybe you get into a choice where you're leading an army and you have to go fight minions of a certain elder dragon or whatever, and you have a choice of like reinforcing this one battalion over here, or charging head on or whatever. And if you didn't reinforce, then maybe
certain NPCs live or die depending on your choices. Like that's what a hero is all about. It's about taking command, trying to get through the situation, and living with the consequences of your decisions.
Yeah.
I want to see that weight.
Absolutely.
I want to see your character carry that weight.
Absolutely. Me too. But we're already at like almost 18 minutes, so let's go ahead and wrap up there. And if you guys have any questions for us or whatever, or comments, just go ahead and leave them.
Oh, I want to mention, if you want, we're doing the Q&A videos every other week now.
Yes.
So if you want to ask a question for next week's Q&A video, leave it in the comments of episode 1.
Yeah.
We'll put up an annotation.
Yeah.
Of our first Q&A video. Just leave your question for next week there.
Yeah, and it could really be on anything. It could be about Guild Wars 2, it could be about gaming in general.
It could be about why I'm so good at playing the guitar.
It could be anything. I mean, we got some pretty hilarious
Why
questions.
am I so sexy?
Haven't gotten that one yet.
Well, I don't have an answer for you. It's one of life's great mysteries.
Oh, you're funny. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up. And I guess that's all. We don't know. His schedule is going to be kind of crazy for the next couple weeks, so we don't know when we'll be able to film to get more videos out. But we will try our best to do them in a very regular sense.
It will be regular, and it's just the days might change, and
Yeah.
the time of week, the time of the week they come out will probably be different.
But at any rate, hopefully next week. Hopefully we will see you next week. And if not, then the week after. But until then, I'm Zolfiri.
I'm Zobota Chaos.
And we will see you around.
Adios, guys.